a lot lined up for you. But before we start, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Colleta Gandidzanwa. I am a lecturer in the Department of Agricultural Economics and Extension and Rural Development at the University of Pretoria, South Africa. Feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. Please put your name and where you are joining us from. This session is hosted by the University of Pretoria in collaboration with McGill University and UC Davis. These are members of the SDG 2 consortium led by Earth University and UC Davis. As part of our SDG action and awareness activities, we decided to name this panel Transdisciplinary Solutions to Health and Hunger Beyond Silos. This theme was really motivated by the persistent silo mentality that exists and continues to prevail in dealing with the wicked challenges, wicked problems, dealing with our academic disciplines, and even SDGs themselves. We think that the next generation of researchers can really eradicate this mentality if we go beyond just really acknowledging that there is a problem. But if we learn from our experiences and take some lessons from what has been happening in the past. So you would have seen that in the past week, some of my students were running a campaign led by the University of Pretoria students who were talking about breaking silos, disciplinary silos, their own understanding of what is needed beyond their disciplines. I know that some of them are joining right now. Well done, and thanks for joining this conversation. So, given what has happened with the campaign and what we've been seeing, students have been engaging in this conversation, and this session will not be the last of this conversation. We are going to plan more engagements around the issue of breaking disciplinary silos, transdisciplinarity in our research. And today, we're going to start by talking to experienced, well-established researchers. We'll hear also from early career researchers, and then we'll open it up for discussion. So after we have heard from our panelists, I'll invite our moderator to moderate the session and handle the question and answer session. So to start with our discussion, I would like to invite Prof. Hetty Schoenfeld, who is a professor in the Faculty of Natural and Agricultural Sciences and an extraordinary lecturer in the School of Health, Systems and Public Health at the University of Pretoria here in South Africa. She held the DSI NRF SACHI Tier 1 Chair in Nutrition and Food Security. On the 1st of January 2025, she was appointed by the United Nations as the UniHub SDG 3 focal point for the next three years. Hetty, over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to everyone, ladies and gentlemen, that are attending this webinar. And yes, thank you for the opportunity to talk about how the University of Pretoria in South Africa has institutionalized SDG 2, Zero Hunger, and SDG 3, Good Health and Well-Being, will be my focus this afternoon. And we know that both of them are very closely linked. And I would like to talk about, how we actually roll out these transdisciplinary teams within the university. Now, during December and January, the Southern Hemisphere was experienced a lot of rain and flooding in different parts of sub-Saharan Africa, particularly from Tanzania, Kenya, Mozambique, South Africa, and our neighboring countries. So, and we know that immediately after floods, we have homes washed away, crops destroyed, and also families displaced. But once people start clearing the debris, the more the silent killer, namely malaria, transmission starts. And for that, the University of Pretoria have an Institute for Sustainable Malaria Control, where they actually monitor the outbreaks prior to where they will actually expect them to, so that they can, in advance, actually prepare the people to address that malaria problem. And during COVID-19, we took hands, the One Health Network, with the UNICEF humanitarian program, and we promoted much needed understanding of the interrelationships between human, animal, and environmental health. And we did it at 3 different specific centers, but actually much more widely within the university. The Hans Hoheisen Wildlife Research Station is near the Kruger Park. So it was quite widely distributed, this whole program. And then, as Colleta referred to, is my chair in nutrition and food security, where we focus on availability, accessibility, and acceptability of food from each food group, starting with weaning foods right up to what the needs of the elderly are. We also look at the cost of diverse food groups and recommended diets, so that also the poor can afford a nutrient-dense diet. The third focus is on nutrient adequacy and nutrient quality, particularly on protein quality, and we work very closely with basic education on the school feeding program within South Africa, where 9.5 million learners actually benefit from that every day. And then last of all is to use all this data into delivering nutrients of concerns into policies and programs, not only for our country, but regionally and also on the African continent, and working very closely with the United Nations on these programs. Other transdisciplinary and collaborative projects within UP is where students and both academic staff are involved, is addressing homelessness in the Tshwane district. Also, the Insulin Project, where students are very active, called TIP. The Pan-Africa Cancer Research Institute, our Center for Transformative Infectious Disease Research on Climate Health and Equity, the Africa Center for Tobacco Industry Monitoring and Policy Research, and then the Sports, Exercise, Medicine and Lifestyle Institute, of which we are very proud of. For staff and students, we have different programs. For our employees, we have a well-being program at UP. We will not only look at the physical health, but also the mental well-being of staff members. And our students can benefit from the health services and counseling unit that is for free for all students. But we also have, under the collaborative umbrella of the Student Nutrition and Progress Program, called SNAP for short, we have different initiatives where industry, alumni, and our food drives actually contribute to plates for days, where students can decide if they would like a nutritious meal that day or rather a food parcel for over the weekends. And we have a food pickathon where various celebrities actually participate every year as well to pack non-perishable foods into that. And a Soup It Forward program, where if a student or academic buy something at the cafeteria, they can pay forward towards any hungry person to actually get a token to get a cup of soup for free. And for us, the most important part is integrated cross-disciplinary learning that enhances capacity to address complexity, equipping our graduates for sustainable futures. And with that, I would like to thank you.
Thank you so much, Hetty, for that, for opening the session for us and giving us what the University of Pretoria is doing in terms of breaking the disciplinary silos. I'd like to move on to our next speaker, and our next speaker is my good friend, Dr. Patrick Catboy. He is the managing director of the Margaret A. Gillian Institute for Global Food Security at McGill University. He is the champion at McGill University of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals SDG 2 Zero Hunger for the University Global Coalition. He has also been appointed recently as the Vice Chair of the United Nations Academic Impact SDG 2 Outreach and Partnership. He represents McGill on Quebec Coalition, on the Quebec Coalition, Feeding Humanity Sustainability, reinforcing his commitment to aligning academic impact with global policy and agenda. So, Patrick, we are very excited to have you here because we know that you are a strategist, an engineer who is into food, and all the impactful work and solutions that you have done for global food systems. Over to you, Patrick.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, my friend, Colleta. Glad to be here with you today. And yeah, I just want to say I don't have some, slides to share. I prefer to share with you some kind of remarks about the subject, and then ready for to know, like we go and we discuss them further during the Q&A session. Concerning this title, when Colleta reached out to me about the subject, I was excited to show and to learn and to share actually from my own experience about what's happening at McGill and how we can break the silos between different disciplines, including nutrition, health, food, and health. Because too many often, agriculture, nutrition, and health, they operate in kind of parallel, like separately, rather than just in partnership. Yet the SDG 2 and SDG 3 are biologically, socially, and economically intertwined. I was invited recently to present on food is medicine, and how we can say and how we can connect, as I said, agriculture to nutrition to health outcome, because your health depends exactly on what you guys eat, right? Therefore, food is, they can call it now today, food is medicine. And one great example happening in Canada recently, just to tell you, that is not food insecurity is not only for developing countries. 28% of Canadians are food insecure, and the majority of those 28% are coming from First Nations. Those communities, those Canadian, they live in remote areas, and the net consequences of not eating healthy food are health issues, right? So including, for example, including NCDs, diabetes, obesity, and so on. So actually, we need to, in my mind, how we do it at McGill, we did some what we call interdepartmental task force to link agriculture to public health and global health, environment, education, finance, and recently engineering. In order to break those silos and to tackle this issue about sustainable food system, and mainly about those SDGs 2 and 3, together. And so one mandate is to join some, let's say, budget lines in any projects that we can do primary care nutrition services, and school feeding initiatives. I was also recently asked to develop a kind of project on nutrition sensitive agriculture. So how to produce agriculture with a nutrition outcome rather than just producing agriculture for the sake of increasing yield and producing food itself, but rather the food has to be healthy and nutritious. All the statistics from the United Nations agencies, like all the main UN Rome-based agencies, WFP, FAO, and IFA, they show that today the majority of people, they cannot afford eating healthy diets. And why is that? Because healthy diets is way more expensive than unhealthy one. So 1 cup of French fries can cost, let's say, up to $0.99, like $1, less than $1. Whereas a cup of fresh fruits and vegetables can cost up to $5. So from here comes the availability of healthy food that is way more expensive and cannot be afforded by so many people today. Hunger and health are not isolated problems, right? They are outcomes of food systems, social protection system, excuse me, and primary healthcare systems. So in my mandate at McGill, I'm using food system frameworks that link production, processing, retailing, consumption, and health outcomes. As I said, we are promoting or advocating for nutrition-sensitive agriculture and connecting this food, nutrition, and health nexus together. We also did, in summary, we developed some joint degrees or programs in food system, global nutrition, and planetary Earth as One Health, right? This concept of one health today. And we did some studies or some projects on identifying or using, geospatial tools to identify some nutrition health hotspots today. And therefore, we'll need this kind of a mapping or to identify the key hotspots today and where is the need of, like, as I said, a nutrition sensitive intervention. Last but not least, I want to say that overcoming disciplinary silos is not an administrative reform itself, it's a paradigm shift. Today, hunger, malnutrition, what I mean by malnutrition is under and overnutrition, and poor health do not occur in isolation, and neither should our responses to that kind of issue right today. So institutions that align governance, incentives, data, financing, and culture around shared outcomes will be far better positioned to deliver meaningful progress on SDG 2 and 3. Thank you so much, Colleta. Back to you, my friend.
Thank you very much, Patrick, for those examples from McGill. We certainly learning. It's really a paradigm shift. Let me invite Professor Joanna Rejuska, the Vice Provost and Dean of Global Affairs and Distinguished Professor of Gender, Sexuality, and Women's Studies at the University of California, Davis. She has led large-scale programs that transform institutions, establish collaborative partnerships, and improve globally focused services for a long time, over 30 years. So, Joanna, we are very excited that you are here, and over to you. We can't wait to hear what you have to share from your experience.
Thank you, and good morning to everyone, and good afternoon, and good evening, and I hope those in the middle of the night actually do sleep right now. But thank you so much for inviting me. Colleta, Patrick, they're all my colleagues and friends, and we just recently actually partnered together in Costa Rica at Earth University to work together on food, nutrition, development of the master degree program. All these efforts are interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary. So I am very grateful for being able to partner with University of Pretoria, McGill, Earth University, and several other universities which participated and who are really committed to SDGs. SDGs not only as a phrase, but SDGs implementation and action. And it takes all of us. This is part of the effort on our part for several years to create the SDG 2 Zero Hunger Hub, but also SDG 3, that Good Health and Wellbeing Hub that is led by Pretoria University. So you can already see that it's not only transdisciplinary efforts, but also multi-institutional efforts. And that's exactly what SDG framework allows us to do, but also force us to do. Each institution has different strengths, different perspective, allocated in different socioeconomic, cultural context. And that's exactly why we need to collaborate. We need to look at the question of food, hunger, nutrition, actions from different perspectives, and we need to acknowledge diversity of context within which we are collaborating and within which we are situated. I'm so honored to have students with us here today on the panel, an exceptional students leader. I need to give a shout out to one student, Davrina Rianda from the University of UC Davis, actually, from the Department of Nutrition. And she has been actively involved in SDGs framework, including leading the winning team for SDG 2 International Student Competition that was hosted a few years ago by the University Global Coalition. So just having all of you together, it shows how important is individual champions are to this agenda, how critical it is that we continue to build across universities, across institutions, across the department, the kind of coalitions. Let me give you a couple examples quickly because I know time is short from UC Davis. So first of all, let me start with one very important fact. We have a very unique structure on the graduate program to actually support transdisciplinary work. More than half of UC Davis graduate program are organized as interdisciplinary graduate groups. So they don't belong to one particular department, but rather are groups to which anybody with the interest on particular topic can belong. So graduate group brings faculty and students from broad range of research, physicists, chemists, sociologists, political scientists, and so forth. So students have a unique opportunity to actually take courses and conduct research outside of a very traditional departmental structure. And that makes us very proud of the way through which we educate our students. So we aim to, yes, educate maybe nutritionists, but the nutritionists gonna have input from many different departments to create the work and research. I belong to the geography graduate group, but in geography graduate group, we have me as a feminist geographer, we have somebody from environmental studies, we have somebody from nutrition, we have somebody from African studies, we have somebody from political science, from human ecology, and so forth. So that's one way to cross the boundaries, to shatter those silos. And let me end up with a couple examples One, the graduate group in the nutritional biology, is an interdisciplinary program that includes the College of Agriculture, Environmental Science, School of Medicine, School of Veterinary Medicine. So the food science graduate group is another one, which also includes College of Agriculture, Environmental Science, but also Letter of Science and Engineering. And again, School of Medicine and Veterinary Medicine. We have numbers of institutes and centers that bring affiliated faculty from across the campus. We have actually more than 40 institutes and centers that one way or the other focus on SDG 2, Zero Hunger, and that intersects with SDG 3, the health and well-being. One of those examples could be the Institute for Food and Health. So that institute leverages strategic industry and academic partnerships for interdisciplinary research and commercialization. And the aim is to address the global challenges in food and health. Another is Food for Health Institute, which was established to link diverse scientific disciplines across the colleges and schools. So centers and institutes bring together different faculty, different students from across the disciplines and work across the teams that directly relate to the SDGs and the targets and indicators. Finally, we have established a SDGs grant programs because we wanted to initiate grassroots sort of bottom-up faculty engagement in our in development of transdisciplinary work around SDGs. A couple examples here. One SDG grant is a toolkit for global education from monk herbs. So very much focusing on the Sustainable Development Goals, on the global education, but center on Hmong refugee communities' knowledge, indigenous knowledge and use of herbs. And that brings together Asian American Studies, plant scientists, Center for Plant Diversity, numbers of UC Davis students and gardeners in California cultivated by Hmong refugees. Another example, Food Spec AI. So AI assisted analysis of high dimensional spectroscopy data in food system. And that is a partnership of University College Dublin and University of California, Davis Department of Statistics. And finally, another example, just to finish up my brief presentation, it's Psych Ed, the personalized behavior strategy for campus-focused healthy eating and diets. And this particular grant supports our two different, again, University College Dublin and UC Davis, and creates a food app that could use the nutrition algorithms and evaluates how the artificial intelligence can support healthier and more sustainable food choices. So these are just few examples. Thank you, Colleta, because working transdisciplinary is critical, actually, to solving our global challenges. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you very much, Joanna, and thanks for your passion. I mean, we hear it in your voice, and a lot of work is happening there. The unique structures you have established, there's a lot for us to learn from that, but we'll talk more about what you are doing in the Q&A. And I just want to remind everyone to please post any questions or comments that you have to the panelists who have spoken now. And the ones that will come, because we want to manage the time. So if you put your questions in the chat, it will make the job of our moderator much easier later on. I want to now turn to our student group that we have. And the first early career researcher that is going to speak is Mercy Bwanaisa, a PhD student at the University of Pretoria. She is studying agricultural economics. Her work is broadly in agricultural economics, primarily focused on food security and nutrition policy. But her doctoral research examines shocks and food systems resilience in Malawi. Mercy, over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Colleta, for the warm welcome. And good evening, everyone, or good morning and good afternoon, depending on where you are. I wanted to first and foremost extend my gratitude to the organizers and facilitators of this very important conversation for including student and early career voices, because I believe we have a very important role to play in all this. I believe as students and early career researchers, we are uniquely positioned to driving transdisciplinary solutions, because for many of us, we are still building our foundations. We haven't yet, I hope, become deeply entrenched into one disciplinary silos. So this gives us a natural openness to integrative thinking. We're also very curious about other fields and generally adaptable to new perspectives. We bring this fresh energy, we bring this fresh fire. So it's great to be a part of this conversation. Thank you so much. But for now, I just wanted to talk about a very good example of an intentional space for transdisciplinarity that I am a part of here at the University of Pretoria. So my PhD research, or my PhD generally, is funded through the Okudla African German Center for Sustainable and Resilient Food Systems and Applied Agricultural and Food Data Science. And this center unites universities in Southern Africa as well as in Germany to train new generation of scholars in food systems and data science. And it ensures transdisciplinarity by bringing in scholars from all kinds of disciplines. And then the possibilities for transdisciplinary collaboration are endless within this community. We have seminars, we have stakeholder engagements, joint supervision, all just to make sure that our work crosses those disciplinary silos that are there. And as an early career researcher myself, I'm really benefiting from this kind of arrangement. For example, intellectually, I see that my perspective is expanding. I've been exposed to things like systems thinking, and I'm able to apply this kind of thinking to my own research. Before, like Dr. Colleta said, my PhD research looks into shocks and how they interface with food availability and economic access to food. Before I was exposed to this kind of environment where we're doing transdisciplinary thinking, transdisciplinary approaches, that's where my work would have ended, just the intersection or just the connection between shocks and economic access to food, for example. But now I'm able to look further. Okay, I'm able to see where changes in production, for example, or changes in food prices might affect dietary patterns and then ripple through to affecting health outcomes. So while I might not really include all these interconnectivities in my research, in my analysis, I am able to know I'm way about work, okay, and I know where my research or my findings fit within the broader interconnected context that we are working in at this intersection of food and health. So for me, this is a very good way to train the next generation of leaders like myself, of course, into thinking about practical solutions for society issues like ill health and hunger in ways that transcend discipline silos. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mercy. Very interesting journey and what you are learning from studying in a transdisciplinary environment. Our second speaker is the project leader for the winning team that Joanna was talking about, Davrina Rianda, a PhD candidate in nutritional biology at the University of California, Davis. She, of course, led the team that won the International Student Hunger Challenge, collaborating with students from Brazil, Costa Rica, Spain, and they proposed the End Hunger Community Center to support community-based solutions to food insecurity. She's also a co-founder of Mama for Planet, a maternal empowerment program on household food waste reduction through global collaboration among young leaders. Davrina, the floor is yours. Davrina?
Yes. Is the screen sharing? Okay, I just want to check. Yeah.
Yes, it's showing. You can go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity. As a student who has been involved in projects focused on SDGs, and in the spirit of beyond the silo, I think I would like to highlight these three key enablers, I would say, for student action, which are transdisciplinary guidance and mentorship, access to resources, and networks. So we as students are passionate about creating change, and because we understand that the decisions and actions that students take today, we all take today, will shape the future that we will live in. But one challenge that I personally face as a student is the gap in experience when trying to translate ideas into real world impact. I've seen these three enablers is really helpful to accelerate learning into transforming passion into tangible solutions for global challenge among students. I have two examples. So the first example coming from my experience as a project leader for the End Hunger Community Center proposal. This is part of the SDG International Student Hunger Challenge. And our team includes students from nutrition, economics, law, agriculture, and public policy across different countries. And this diversity really helps to design a more integrated approach, as showing in this diagram. And we propose this center to connect the production, distribution, and consumption of food by empowering local resources and community networks. This include local food coverage, which distribute locally produced foods through food stamp systems. This is supported by home-based food markets, which is the provider of the foods through training for local home cooks, and public, private, and community partnerships to empower home farmers are also one of the providers. So this really shows how transdisciplinary student networks can really produce innovative solutions and to complex challenge, including end hunger. And it's actually a very fun experience to have that discussions across students from different universities. And another example is on the importance of transdisciplinary mentorship and resources. This comes from my experience working with Mama for Planet. This is a maternal empowerment program to reduce household food waste through a training of trainers and gamification activities for mothers and children. And through this project, we received mentorship, interdisciplinary mentorship that helps translate our program outcomes from students into a policy brief, and really help students to see how we could transform grassroots initiatives into to inform policies. And what is also important, I think, is the funding support that is specifically targeting projects led by young leaders and students. So this creates a space where students can experiment with new ideas and be creative in designing solutions and projects without having to compete directly with a large and more established organizations, and really having a safe space to students to be creative and as a future leader. So this experience highlights how important it is to have mentors and accessible resources to empower students to move from ideas into real world action in addressing I think this food system challenges, but also like global challenges overall. So that's a very short explanation and some experience that I had. I'm really grateful for that opportunity. So yeah, thank you so much.
Very exciting. Thank you very much, Davrina, for your presentation and sharing your experiences. Our last early career researcher who's going to share with us is Osman Jie, a postgraduate food science student at McGill University. who is an emerging leader in food and nutrition security advocacy. He's working closely with the Margaret Gilliam Institute for Global Food Security to advance sustainable, inclusive food system. Previously, he worked in nutrition programs in his home country of Gambia. Osman, over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Colleta. Thank you for putting this together. And to the two universities, McGill included, and University of Pretoria and UC Davis. I just want to bring this conversation back to what we are doing today under the UNA and UGC. We are talking about the SDGs, and most importantly, this month is SDG awareness. And most importantly for the Hope, this is SDG awareness, action and awareness. For many of us, we the Gen Zs, the SDGs were set at a time that we were still very young. We did not participate in designing them, but we have grown up with them. And in many ways, they have become a shared commitment that has shaped how we think about development, justice, and our collective future. And I think one of the most important lessons that my generation is embracing is the need to break, the disciplinary silos, because we have recognized that the challenges of hunger, nutrition, and health cannot be solved within isolated sectors. And I think also this is why the food systems approach, as championed by organizations like FAO, has gained momentum because it recognizes the interconnectedness of agriculture, nutrition, environment, health, and livelihoods. Similarly, the One Health concept, like Professor Haiti presented here, also reminds us of how our ecosystems are deeply intertwined. And at McGill, just some examples that I want to say is how this shift is being seen in practice through initiatives like the student nexus that we have under the Institute for Global Food Security, where students and researchers are working across disciplines to address food security challenges from multiple perspectives, including policy, science, health, and sustainability. And beyond the classroom too, students are also stepping forward as conveners and leaders. Through efforts, we are establishing the World Food Forum Quebec chapter. The World Food Forum is an initiative launched under the FAO in 2021 that creates space for young people to be actors for food systems transformation. And here in Quebec, here in Montreal, here in Canada, we are creating space for where young people can collaborate, exchange ideas, and contribute meaningfully to advancing the SDGs. And these are very important things that resonate with us, even as we talk about the SDGs, actions, and awareness. And I also believe that my generation is one that is deeply committed to breaking silos, not just looking at it as an academic idea, but looking at it as a practical pathway that can help us in achieving zero hunger and healthier societies. So I want to say thank you to Dr. Colleta and all of you for having me and having me join this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Osman. I really appreciate the commitment that you have made on behalf of the next generation that's going to take this over. That's really amazing, and it's nice to see you. You said that you were not part of the design. You do not participate in the design of the SDGs in general, but then I know somebody who was a fly on the wall. Our moderator today, this afternoon, I think he was part of it. He will tell us what the story is. Can I introduce to you Dr. Odirilwe Solomane? He is a senior lecturer in the Department of Geography and Geoinformatics and Meteorology. His research is mainly on sustainability science, and he works on science policy interface projects. He's been involved in the intergovernmental science policy platform on biodiversity and ecosystem services since 2016. Yeah, he's an author, a fellow with them, and coordinating the Nexus assessment. But Odi, the main reason I called you here to be the moderator is because I believe you were part of the design of the SDGs. Where are we now? Odi, over to you.
Yeah, thanks. It was really a pleasure to listen to all the different voices and contributions about the SDGs. I think it was very clearly articulated the links between the two SDGs, and I think even beyond that, with I think we've seen with the Mama for Planet that could even extend to the environment. So although we're focusing on SDG 2 and 3, our Nexus work and other work has shown that actually there's much more links between the different SDGs in general, not just these two. But it was, I think we've had about really good examples of One Health, which is also trying to bring things together. The thing about food as medicine. We've had about some innovative programs that are exposing postgraduate students to integrated or discipline-less sort of training. And I think this was also highlighted in the contribution that early careers are also quite open and in a way discipline-free, so they're not tied down by the disciplinary bounds. So I think this is cause for hope looking forward, all of us. Yeah. So for me, I have two very quick questions to the panel before I open it up, and one is linked to the question to the point that Chair just made now, which is that I sat in the room in 2015 in New York where the SDGs were discussed, and this is plus 10 years later. So my one provocative question to the panel is 10 years later a good time to be talking about bridging the silos, or should we be past that by now? That's a question for you. And then the second question is, I think we've seen some really excellent examples of putting our money where our mouths are in terms of the different programs that people have presented today that are showing that you can integrate, you can work across disciplines, you can train people differently. In your perspectives, or in your own experiences, do you think that is that can translate into policy action beyond the individual project and cases? Thank you. Maybe I'll invite you to respond to this too, and I'm keeping an eye on the chat to see if there are any questions. If anybody else want to take one of those two questions, please feel free.
All right, I would jump in. Thank you so much for actually a very pointed question about, is it 10 years later, we're still talking about crossing the boundaries and crossing the borders of the disciplines. And I think it's going to be a conversation in perpetuity. The traditional formation of disciplines, the theories, the methodologies, the tools, they are all being in the paradigms, the body of theories, they all continue to be reinforced by the fact that the academic institutions are very slow in changing these paradigms and moving and opening up, but also by the market, by the employers who are looking for specific training. And very often employers don't understand the kind of multidimensional experiences that people are bringing. So I think this is a problem that both sides are facing. One that cannot move fast enough, the other that are actually not accepting. Because as a person who moved from geography to women studies who in a certain way, theoretically and practically, and then involved in international education, I am traveling. I am traveling all the time. And I see how the students with whom I'm working, they coming and said, well, you know, maybe I need to just focus on this. Maybe I need to do this, because the clarity of message is very important for them in order to be able to get the job. And that, of course, has implication for your second question, and that is for the policy actions. Because the policy is not disciplinary. The policy is transdisciplinary. The policies that we create have to be complex. So I think we have these tensions between different actors, and those things are not being resolved as fast as we should be resolving them.
Can I just add on what my colleague said?
Yes, please.
All right. Thank you so much. And I'd love to say that, like those two, questions, they are also, like interrelated. One idea is that, is it like worth to stay to after 10 years to still talking about this, like beyond silos and yes, I mean, that's kind of a short answer, right? And the idea behind that is that if you're gonna just copy and paste the past, it's a recipe of failure. Because we saw that after so many investments, so many, interventions in trying to achieve towards a sustainable food system, we still see so many people going to bed hungry every single night. All our natural resources are depleted in a very inefficient way. And so many people, as I said, they cannot afford eating healthy diets. But one main problem today, I believe, is the youth migration. Youth, they lost hope in agriculture. And I'd like to talk a little bit about this concept, because the future, actually the present and the future belong to them, right? So they're gonna inherit inappropriate policies taking shape today, right? If they don't contribute positively to it or to them, to those policies. So giving the youth some incentives, what kind of incentives we need to give them in order to bring them back to the agriculture and to ensure this sustainability on this planet Earth in terms of food and nutrition security. So from here, I would say yes, definitely, it's always worth it. And as I said, we need to bring those youth back to the agriculture. And how we're going to do it is through some incentives that we need to keep on motivating them and keeping them engaged. Such as, today we're talking about AI, about digitized agriculture, about, something, how to make like a little bit the agriculture a little bit more sexy for them, right? So, and that will definitely going back to or continue or paving the way for that policy to action. So one of the mandate at McGill is to how to translate scientific evidence into policies and practices. Because policies without actions, it will remain theoretical. And actions, it always has to be for the sake. I mean, actions has to have some end users. And the end users are, or should be actually, the youth of today and tomorrow. So from here, it comes the importance of, involving the youth with the co-creation, with the design of the policies in order to translate those into actions later on.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks, Patrick. So I see there's two other questions that I think I'll try and squeeze them in. But I wanted to say that I was being obviously very silly by saying that should we be still be talking about beyond silos, because obviously this is not a destination. Transdisciplinary is not a destination, it's a journey. So we will always be asking these questions. We'll always be thinking about how to better integrate. Now the two questions in the chat, one I think is partly answered by Joanna, is basically asking about whether disciplines are ready and receptive to transdisciplinarity. And I think you did touch on it. And I suppose if someone wants to answer it maybe more broader than our own individual experiences, do we see that widespread reception, or do we see still resistance to transdisciplinarity? And the second question is asking about, well, I guess it's also sort of similar because it's also asking about institutional and structural barriers. So maybe to combine those two questions, are we seeing beyond our own experiences a broad direction? In what direction are we seeing the movement in disciplines and in institutions towards reception or well, I don't know what the opposite of reception is, but what the barriers to transdisciplinarity? Anybody wants to take that quickly?
If I can come in,
Yeah.
I just want to, in my own experience, I have found that institutions, not only universities, but in general, institutions are much more open to work as teams. And the reason why is because we have seen that the answer for not only undernutrition, but also the tsunami of overweight and obesity that we experience in both first world and developing countries, be it low or middle income, is bringing us all to the table to say, listen, we have to do something about this food system that cannot be done by one discipline only. We need all of us to be able to produce and to provide nutritious foods of a lower energy content. And that is not only for human nutritionists or for agriculturists. And I agree with Patrick. You know, we can have very nice policies and programs, but unless it is bought in by everyone, what will be the use of it? If it's not, you know, you can't really enforce it if you are not working with all the actors in the food system, and that includes our industry and as well as, of course, our scientists to guide them. But I find that, you know, mostly in universities, your first degree is maybe a little bit of siloed degree. But then I find more and more with masters and PhD students and, of course, early career researchers and postdocs, that they like to spread their wings and like to learn more about what makes this complex puzzle that together, that we can solve it as collectively and not individually, because we will never succeed individually.
Yeah. Thank you, Heidi. The moderator is the chair is picking me to move along, but I really like the note that you ended with, that ultimately people want to work together to solve problems, and that's very encouraging, I think, to all of us. That maybe we focus on the institutions and how difficult they are and how constraining the disciplines are, but maybe we just need to break out and work with people and things move. So I think sometimes we can be too much in our heads about the big structures around us. And I think your point is really reminding us that we just find people and we engage with them and things move. People want to work together. But I need to hand over now back to the chair because I've been given a very stern warning to stop. Thank you very much. I really appreciate all your contributions.
Thank you. And on that note, I would like to thank you very much, Audie, and all the panelists for such a lively conversation. And as I said in the beginning, this is just the beginning of trying to make sure that Osman's work of advocacy, pushing that the next generation breaks the silos, go ahead. So there's going to be continuous discussions. Let's continue to engage on this subject, especially for students. So we will be letting you know as we arrange events. Please attend and participate so that we remain engaged on this conversation. There is a lot that we did not discuss, and if we did not answer some of your questions, we hope that in our next conversations, we will be able to answer. Thanks again for all of you for joining, and especially my panelists, those who joined very early in the morning at the crack of dawn. We do not take that for granted. Have a very good day, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.